Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all here. This week, I want to share a real story from my own life. Something about the way we talk, and more importantly, how to talk wisely. Now, talk wisely might sound like just another nice phrase, but if you think about it, it's actually worth pausing over. Why should we care about talking wisely? Let me give you two examples, and you can tell me which one makes more sense. In the first example, you're having a conversation with someone, but no matter what the topic is, you two always end up disagreeing. Every time you talk, it somehow turns into a quarrel. It gets tiring, right? Having different opinions is one thing, it's natural, but constantly clashing makes every conversation feel exhausting. Or, on the other extreme, you talk but nobody seems to notice. Your words feel weightless, like they just disappear into the air. No one is really listening to you. Now, let's look at the second example. You're speaking, and people actually lean in to listen. Your words feel rational, balanced. Even when you're being direct or pointing out a problem, nobody feels hurt. Wherever you go, people enjoy having you around. Between the first and the second example, which one would you choose? I think even a kid would go for the second. And that, my friends, is the result of wise communication. Today, I'm going to share with you 5 things I've learned, real practical tips to communicate smartly. They're not complicated, and they actually work. I'll split them into 2 parts. First, I'll give you 2 quick, powerful tools that can instantly make your conversation smoother. Then, I'll share 3 deeper, more strategic techniques based on situations and mindset, the kind of lessons that once you understand one, you can apply to 10 different scenarios. So, let's start with the first tip. Are you ready? The first secret is actually just one short sentence, but if you use it, it's almost impossible for the conversation to turn into an argument. This line works best when someone comes to you to vent, complain, or share something that's bothering them. Here's a scenario to make it clear. Imagine you're a man, ladies, you can learn from this too, and you have a girlfriend or a wife. One day, she comes to you looking upset and says, "Babe, my skin feels itchy and it's breaking out. I'm so worried. I don't know what's going on." Naturally, you care about her, so you try to help. You should check the brand of cosmetics you're using. Lately, I've heard a lot of people are getting allergic reactions. Maybe look into that carefully. Sounds reasonable, right? But then she says, "No way. I spent nearly $1 million on this cream. I doubt it's the cause." And you reply, "Well, you came to me with a problem. I gave you a solution. You don't have to take my advice, but at least don't get mad at me for trying." And just like that, tension fills the air. She's annoyed, you're annoyed, and what started as a small issue becomes an argument. Sound familiar? This happens a lot. Someone shares a problem, the other person jumps straight to giving advice, and then both end up upset. From my own experience, here's what I do differently. When someone comes to me with a problem, especially someone close to me, I first acknowledge them with a simple to show I'm listening. Then I ask this question: do you want me to just listen, or do you want a solution? That's it. This one question prevents so many unnecessary arguments because it forces the other person to think about what they actually want from you: emotional support or practical advice. If they say, "I just need you to listen," then that's what you do. Listen attentively, maybe ask a few follow-up questions, but don't try to fix anything. If they say, "I need a solution," then you give your advice, and they can't really be upset because they asked for it. And here's the bonus. Sometimes they themselves don't know what they need until you ask this. By making them choose, you're already guiding the conversation into a calmer, clearer direction. This works beyond relationships too. Let's say your boss shares a problem about the company's performance. Don't rush to throw out solutions, especially if you're not in a high position. Instead, listen carefully, and then ask in a respectful way, "Could I be of any help to you?" Same meaning, but more professional. With equals or people younger than you, "Do you want me to listen or give a solution?" Works great. With superiors or elders, "May I be of any assistance?" is better. It shows respect without overstepping. Alright, that's the first tool. Now let's move to the second one, which is just as simple but works wonders in heated discussions. Welcome back. If the first tip was about preventing misunderstandings before they happen, this second one is about keeping conversations from blowing up, especially in situations where opinions clash. We've all been there. You start talking with someone, maybe your partner, a colleague, or a friend. At first, it's friendly and calm, then little by little, you get frustrated because they won't agree with you. You try to hold your temper, but eventually you can't. Voices rise, interruptions fly back and forth, and before you know it, you're not even listening to each other anymore. So how do we stop that spiral? There's a simple rule I use. Before getting into any discussion or potential argument, I lay out this agreement. To make sure we really understand each other and save time, when you're talking, I'll listen until you finish. Then, when it's my turn, you listen to me without interrupting. Fair? 9 times out of 10, the other person will agree because it's fair, and it shows you're willing to give them the floor first. You've set a clear framework, one person speaks, the other listens, then you switch. And here's the magic. Once you've agreed to that rule, you can gently remind them of it if they interrupt you later. You're not being bossy, you're simply holding them to an agreement they already said yes to. Why does this work so well? Because most arguments don't come from the topic itself, but from the frustration of being cut off. Nobody likes to be interrupted mid-sentence. It makes people feel disrespected and unheard. By agreeing to listen fully before responding, you eliminate one of the biggest triggers for anger. Let's break it down. If you're equals, same age, similar position, you can say it directly in a friendly tone. If you're talking to someone older or in a higher position, be more tactful. You can still apply the rule, but soften the delivery. For example, with a boss who tends to dominate conversations, you might say, "Excuse me, may I explain my idea briefly?" Once I finish, it might help us find a better solution. That way, you're showing respect while still protecting your chance to speak. And this isn't just about hierarchy, it's also cultural. In places where age before beauty is the norm, asking permission to speak isn't weakness, it's politeness. Now back to the equal ground scenario. Imagine you and a friend are about to have a heated debate. Instead of jumping in, say, "Okay, you talk first, I'm listening." You'd be surprised how much this simple move changes the tone. Giving someone the first turn often makes them more willing to listen to you afterward. So, to recap, first create the listen until finished agreement before the conversation starts. Second, offer the other person the first turn. And third, use polite variations for people above you in age or position. This second sentence is just as powerful as the first one. Together, they form the foundation for smoother, calmer conversations, and they're incredibly easy to remember. In the next part, I'm going to talk about a psychological approach that doesn't just prevent conflict, but actually puts you in a position where the other person wants to agree with you, happily, not reluctantly. All right, let's move to the third strategy, and this one goes deeper because it's all about psychology. You see, most of us think that winning a conversation means proving our point so strongly that the other person has no choice but to agree. But here's the problem. When someone feels cornered, even if they secretly agree with you, their pride kicks in and they'll push back just to avoid losing. That's why in wise communication, the real win is making the other person feel like the idea was theirs in the first place. So how do we do that? First, start by finding common ground, even if it's just a tiny piece. Let's say you're talking about a work process you think should change. Instead of opening with, "We need to do this differently," you could start with, "I really like how we've been handling part A, it's been working well. I wonder if there's a way we could make part B just as smooth." Notice how that shifts the tone. You're not attacking the current system, you're inviting them to collaborate on improving it. Second, ask guiding questions instead of making blunt statements. If you say, "We should switch to this new tool," that's a direct suggestion, but if you ask, "Do you think using this tool might save us some time?" you're planting the seed without forcing it. If they end up saying, "Yeah, maybe we should try that," it feels like their decision, not yours. And here's the interesting thing. People tend to be more committed to ideas they believe they came up with themselves. Third, know when to step back. Sometimes you don't need the credit for the idea, you just need the result. If letting them think it was their plan gets the job done, then you've achieved your goal without unnecessary ego battles. I've done this in work meetings plenty of times. There were moments I could have pushed to make it clear the idea was mine, but I stayed quiet and let them take ownership. Later, when the plan succeeded, everyone benefited and the relationship stayed smooth. Remember, communication isn't just about exchanging words, it's about creating an environment where understanding can actually happen. The first tip helped us filter what kind of response the other person really wants. The second tip created a structure where both sides feel heard. And this third tip builds a bridge that makes agreement feel natural and effortless. If you start applying these in your daily life, you'll notice conversations becoming lighter, conflicts fading faster, and your relationships, whether personal or professional, growing stronger without you even having to win anything. In the end, wise communication isn't about talking more, it's about talking better, and sometimes talking less. And that's where the real power is.